Hello and welcome to this week's Rocksmith developer stream. I am Doug Lilly. I'm back. I'm your host and community developer for Rocksmith. I welcome you here. If you've never watched us before, we're going to play through some songs, this week's DLC, and we're going to talk about them. There's a lot to talk about this week, I think, and we're going to chat, and we're going to have lots of giveaways, so stay tuned for those, and make sure you listen to UB Jurassic in the chat. He'll be handling those raffles as they come, and he will also take your questions, if you have any questions for me or any of the guests that we'll have today, and send those my way, and we'll answer as many of them as we can, so make sure you reach out to UB Jurassic. That is Brian Turner, the Rocksmith Community Manager. So this week was the Classic Melody Song Pack, where we had 3 songs that were traditional or even nursery rhymes, and we tinkered with the arrangements. So if you like your nursery rhymes a little bit thrashy, this could be the pack for you. Let's take a look at the Classic Melody Song Pack, and we'll be back with our first guests. And welcome back. Once again, I'm Doug Lilly. I return. And with me, I have brought some friends. Hello.
Hello, Doug.
One of
Hey,
you is
Doug.
still tuning. That's probably fine. Brian Pody. He's always
Yeah.
Travis, never not tuning.
That's all I do.
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just keeps turning the pegs until the strings break, and then he restrings and he tunes again until they break.
That's a good idea.
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Brian Pody, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you tuned? I mean,
There's
Well, that's true,
strings.
but is
you'll
your
make it
guitar
work.
tuned?
Oh.
I think that's really the question.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
What
that's
what are we playing? What are you two playing?
I don't know. I mean, you tell us. You're the host.
Oh, I didn't think to organize this. This is all just kidding. No, I'm kidding. So we're doing Frère Jacques.
Oh.
Frère Jacques, which is
Yeah.
a French nursery rhyme.
Mhm.
Was
Yeah.
until
Now it's not a French nursery rhyme.
Yeah, no, not, well, I mean,
No,
it
no
is,
longer.
it is, but it's a bit different. So all these facts, I think, when we first announced the Classic Melody Song Pack, and which songs were in it, there was a bit of a misunderstanding with some people as far as like what we usually do when we make our arrangements, which is to say we make sure these arrangements are full of techniques and valuable, like basically exercises within the form of a song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, what we would call that like generally as an étude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Étude, another French word for study. So it's like literally a piece to study. Sometimes in like sort of traditional repertoire, études can be based off of sort of existing music or folk song.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're just composed, and just like exercises are also études.
But yeah, I think all of these songs really kind of fall into that category, and they range from like some very easy arrangements, which I think are on the alt paths this week, to some like pretty involved guitar work.
So if you just want those like classic melodies, if you're a beginner, the alt paths are going to have the more what you would expect from Frere Jacques.
I think like especially if you're the kind of player that's like, well, I've never really plucked out a melody before, or like, oh, I could play this for my kid or for my I don't know, my class, then that's perfect. It's designed for someone who wants that kind of melody under their fingers.
Yeah, and then the primary arrangements are a bit more flashy, we'll say.
Right. Yeah, they incorporate more techniques. They incorporate more advanced techniques.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it. Not instead of just flash. Let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and get into Frere Jacques, and then we can talk about those techniques and what you can study with these paths. And you're playing lead? Probably, as far as you know.
Tell me.
My notes say you're playing lead.
Know.
There it is. Could I have you move your mic in just a touch?
Is that better?
It is if you don't whisper.
It's always better when you don't whisper.
So yeah, what were we saying there? Well, so the pinch harmonics optional.
Always mandatory.
I said maybe not 100% accurate, but 100% pody.
Unlike me,
was that
where I did achieve 100% accuracy. It's fine. It's fine.
It's not a competition, but well,
I've played whatever the other arrangement is.
I can tell.
So you thought you had played this arrangement, but you were mistaken.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Well, that's fine. Well, what surprised you there?
There's a bunch of cool stuff in there that I'd never played before. That was usually like just the background part.
Oh yeah.
While I was like playing the melody.
No surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. And I think so. I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But all the tones, since these are songs that were arranged in-house, the tones were also all designed sort of in-house, right? As far as I know. And that bass, at least the second half,
the fuzz bass. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's got that great kind of like envelope kind of whop.
Yeah.
Especially on the slide, that whop. It's just it's such a weird, fun sound. And especially with the palm mute, it's supposed to be picked, but you know me.
Yeah.
So I'm doing your classic, which is really fun when it gets faster. Right? Super fun.
So I noticed you're playing with your thumb when you're doing that. Is that to replicate the sound of a pick?
Yeah, generally speaking, for bassists that don't use a pick and want to get sort of that grungy kind of palm mute sound, the thumb palm mute is great. Palm mute, use your thumb. But if you're doing something sort of funky, right, like you've got a line, you want to make that really cool. Nice little palm mute. So it works for both. And there's definitely a technique, even in metal, where you use your thumb instead of a pick. Some cats do that, and it's great. It's super good. You can the nice thing is you can go both directions. So you can go right. So you can, or if you're palm muting,
and you still get that little bit of like scratch.
Yeah. You get a little bit of that attack. It's not as strong as with a pick. A pick is very like that precise attack. And also, I mean, I don't practice that picking skill.
A pick, which is a valid tool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they're. I always say like I don't like using picks very often, but there are tons of really amazing bassists and really great examples of picks being used on bass that I think you should absolutely emulate. And you're just doing yourself a disservice if you're like actually withholding yourself from a technique. Like I do play the pick occasionally, but never on the string.
You don't like to talk about it.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
But yeah, it was sort of funny for this song in particular. I was talking to Pody right before we went on, and I was like, oh, I think it's sort of interesting that we have this sort of folk song pack because we both ended up studying folk song in grad school in two different ways.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. What was your, if you can mention it, what was your sort of area of expertise, your focus? Your folk focus.
So mine, my graduate degree is in education, music education, and the method called the Kodai method. It's a Hungarian-based method. Derives out of teaching music through folk songs. So you start with like children and adults. You teach folk songs. Sometimes nursery rhymes, but like Frère Jacques is often called a nursery rhyme, but it's really a folk song. It's sung by adults and use a lot of different techniques to extrapolate very concrete musical meaning out of the folk songs. And the best part is that the students like understand the song and then you derive a meaning from it in the same way you might understand a word and then learn its definition.
So kind of like
how to spell it.
Like a Bartokian
well, Bartók and Kodai were contemporaries. Bartók was a little bit into education. Mikrokosmos is a really great collection of piano works. But I'd say a better tool for teaching is Kodai's 21 Little Tunes for Black Keys, which are all pentatonic-based little things. It's great. It's great. And there's a lot of this concept of round and canon. And Frère Jacques
could be done.
Yeah, and there's actually a point in the second half where the upper line step, and that's happening as like a slight canon.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was my graduate degree.
All right.
Mine was different.
Okay.
Mine is actually musicology, and I focused on like the canonization of folk music in America.
Okay.
Yeah, you put all of it into a cannon.
And then you blow it up.
To where does it go? Where does the folk music land?
I can't say.
You can't say it's a secret. Okay.
Yeah, you're sworn into secrecy when you handed your diploma.
It all went back to Britain where it came from.
Oh, okay. Checks out.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about that are the broadsides, which I think are just like absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of that ended up here. Yeah.
And we can't let this arrangement of Frere Jacques get away without mentioning Mahler. Mahler, very famous 20th century composer. He's really like the sort of like emo goth of like the early 20th century, responsible for the Concerto Grosso. He made the orchestra larger, which is really cool. His pieces are notorious for being these super loud and really exciting pieces, huge things for basses and tubas, lots of percussion. Yeah. Really like the next step after Beethoven in a lot of ways. I'm sure there's already like musicological discussion against that. So Mahler's First Symphony, Mahler 1, the first movement, uses Frere Jacques in a minor key, just like the second half of this song.
Oh.
And it starts with a string bass solo. And it's a huge round that involves the entire orchestra, and it lasts the entire duration of the movement. It's gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful music, and I can't recommend it more highly. Mahler 1, first movement.
Thank you, Travis. And Brian, I have a question for you from Jean 308, which is they want some clarification on what canonization of folk music in America means.
So
use that degree. You paid for it. Let's see it in action.
Kind of how the canon of what is thought of as American folk music was created.
And when you say canon, you mean the sort of like approved collection or the accepted collection?
Yeah, more the accepted collection, because it was very much a small number of people, generally very kind of Eurocentric British people who are like, I know this music. Look, I found it here. This is the folk music that lives here too. So that was kind of what was really interesting to me, was sort of the bias that was brought to canonizing.
And canonization has changed, and I think it's sort of grown. Like it's become a bit more broad.
Oh yeah,
especially the past couple of decades.
Oh yeah. One thing that's like a huge movement right now is like representation and canonization. Yeah. Because you have people like there are a lot of people to whom certain pieces of folk music belong to and are really part of their past, and are not represented when we talk about the history of those pieces.
Yeah, I was mostly looking at like kind of World War I era.
Yeah.
So like the first people going into the Appalachian Mountains.
Okay. Well, I feel like we'll have some conversation about that later when I get to talk about my Appalachian roots.
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
Yeah. So we'll chat about that later. Hey, let's give away something.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So thank you both for playing.
You're welcome.
And right now, if you were interested, please listen to what UB Jurassic in the chat is telling you for your chance to win our first of 2 Ernie Ball prize packs. These packs, Ernie Ball supplies these materials to us. I'm going to cough for just a moment, so please excuse me. I hope you like that. So Ernie Ball has been very generous in supplying us with these prizes to deliver unto you. If you win, make sure you listen for a whisper or watch for a whisper from UB Jurassic. He will collect your information in order to receive the pack, which will include 2 sets of strings, 1 4-string set, 1 6-string set. It's going to have 12 picks, the new Everlast design from Ernie Ball, 3 picks from us, the Rocksmith. I believe we are going with Spectrum Plectrum, which is difficult for me to say. I'm going to practice that. Spectrum Plectrum. Yeah, I don't get to say plectrum very often because I'm in the U.S. But it's fine. I'll start. I'll figure it out. The prize pack also comes with 1 black Ernie Ball strap, a package of the Ernie Ball Wonder Wipes, who get rave reviews around this studio, and an Ernie Ball peg winder. So, I might throw in some pins. Might be some extras. Sometimes you'll get extras. So not everything is shown here, but sometimes if there's things that I find, I will deliver them out, and I won't ask you if you want to like this out, like the Cartman Wizard. The Cartman Wizard I asked because it was large and it required a different box. That was a primary reason. But you know, you might get some extra stuff, some stickers. Who knows? But if you win, make sure again you listen. Look for a whisper from UB Jurassic. He will get your name, your shipping address, and your telephone number. We do need all that information. And if you are outside of the U.S., we do deliver outside of the U.S. But if you are from outside of the U.S., please make sure to break up your address line by line so that I can read it and ship the information, ship the prize to you without it being sent straight back to me. So good luck. And if somebody has already won, which I don't think they've pulled a winner yet, but congratulations to the winner who's coming up. And I believe we are ready for our second song of the Classic Melody Song Pack. And to perform that song, Anthony Martinez.
Hey, Doug.
Senior Note Tracker, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing really well.
Excellent.
And you are playing lead on Amazing Grace.
That is correct.
That is good. And with us, we've got you're becoming quite the regular.
I'm new face
around here.
Hello.
New face. Not. I mean, this is like your third week in a row.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
I'm amazed, actually surprised that
we keep letting you back on.
Yeah, consecutively.
Let's keep this going,
Akshay.
man. Hot streak.
Yeah, it's been fun. I look forward to it.
So this
actually,
is Akshay for the people who haven't been watching the past couple of weeks. Yeah, thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, of course.
So you're doing Amazing Grace.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you had some things. We wanted to talk about the sort of creation of this. Because I mentioned earlier that a lot of people, when we first announced this pack, they didn't expect what they got, which is something akin to the Boxsmith packs or Rocksmith Goes to the Movies, which are house-made arrangements that are made for guitar players.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a bit about the creation of these songs, these three songs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked closely with Brian McCune to arrange accessible and fun guitar and bass arrangements for these public domain songs.
Yep.
And they were produced mainly for mobile. It was sort of like this exclusive, mobile thing. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I guess like the round of review that I had with McCune, because we tried a bunch of different things. It was trial and error through recording. And I actually used this guitar to record the lead work, and Dan was kind enough to lend me his precision bass and Taylor T5 to record the other tracks for Amazing Grace. But I used a Realtone cable plugged into Logic Pro and just gave it a go.
All right.
Yeah.
And the tones. So when you recorded it, did you record clean, or did you record with pedals, with effects?
I used amp modeling, but then after I passed the tracks on to Alberto, who is the engineer who used to work at Fantasy Studios. He crafted tones specifically for actually all of the songs. So he sort of used he worked from a blank canvas. Cool. But so the idea was to, just produce these recordings. Greg Barr recorded all of the tracks for When the Saints Go Marching In, and he was actually the person who trained me on how to note track when I first joined the team back in 2012.
I never got to meet Greg. It was before my time.
I know. Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Please. No, please. Akshay, please. What did you...
Hi. I did not help recording or writing any of this. I'm an amateur.
But so you recorded all the guitar, Anthony?
Yeah.
Not Akshay.
Not me. Yeah. Again, I did not help at all.
All the guitar and all the bass for this song and the last one, Frere Jacques.
Cool. And the drummer was the same drummer from the Boxsmith packs?
From Boxsmith 2.
Boxsmith 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know the drummer's name?
Yes.
I put you on the spot now.
Oh my gosh. Brian.
Not McCune, not Pody.
There's a lot of
McRae, I believe. Brian McRae. Forgive me if I messed up your last name, Brian.
Now we know why you hired
him. But yeah, he did a fantastic job on these, and we had like a nice back and forth. I handed him a couple of different versions of the recordings that I produced and sent to McCune for review. We gave them to Brian, and Brian, the drummer, that is, co-arranged those drum parts with McCune. And so it was this web of ideas.
And Brian's.
And Brian's, yeah.
Always.
Yeah,
always.
I almost changed my name. Almost. But,
it's still time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look at Amazing Grace.
Sure.
And we'll discuss a bit more afterwards. And once again, if you have any questions, make sure you mention UB Jurassic in the chat. And we got a bass solo.
Hello.
Actually, you got to play a bass solo.
That was awesome, man.
Thank you. My heart is pounding. I usually don't get too nervous right up until like 5 minutes before stepping on stage. But
that sounded great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
I really enjoyed it. It
Well
was. I tried a bunch of the songs in this pack, and like this one was like, oh yeah, a bass solo. I gotta try it. I gotta go for it. And
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anthony Martinez, I wanted to ask you about one of the techniques that's in this a few times. I don't know the name for it, if there is a name for it.
Sure.
But when you have sustained chord or notes, and then you change some, but not all, what would that be?
I think
Did what I asked
I would
make
describe
sense?
that absolutely. I would describe that as maintaining common tones for between two shapes, and then just changing a particular tone. So I'm assuming
That's not a very catchy
it's something
name
like
for that.
It's hyphenated. I don't know where the hyphens go, but
Between every
they're
word.
there. There's maybe.
Yeah.
So something like. I didn't give the board ops a head up, so that was on me. but something like this.
So it's like an oblique bend without the bending. Nope. Okay.
That's interesting. Like I don't know if there's.
That's you.
Oh, me? Oh.
Oh, actually, I switched the middle pickup, but
mine's off, man.
Okay. No, that's me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The hot signal here.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an actual term for that.
Yeah.
I can.
If you were to name that, if you were to give it a term, what would you call it? Please be shorter than what you just said.
Man. Maybe some. Maybe some like upper neighbor tone movement. So if I'm starting with,
that's fun.
It's kind of like the 5/6 neighbor tone movement that Jared was talking about. It's just that this is functioning a little bit differently in that I might be starting with a shape, but then moving one of the pitches up and then coming back down
without strumming again.
Without
picking. Because that's what I was seeing on there.
Oh, okay. I think I understand. Okay, yeah. So starting from this shape and then doing something like that. Okay, yeah. I think it could be described as the same thing, but I'm just not reattacking. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little more legato.
There we go.
Yeah, just a little more fluid. I'm not reattacking. I'm just using a slide. I think some of those figures are notated as like hammer-ons and pull-offs.
Yep.
To be honest, I prefer sliding. I sort of changed my mind about that technique, and it just feels more natural. One of the things that I did want to point out about these arrangements, though, is that I believe there are 14 in total.
I think almost like of the 3 songs, 2 of them have they all have one bass path, and then 2 of them have 2 leads and 2 rhythms.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
That's a lot of arrangements.
That's a lot of arrangements. Yeah,
and a lot of notes to track.
That's a lot of notes.
The idea behind that was to create some very simple, accessible yet fun arrangements, and then add to those arrangements something a little more interesting, which is like the main. I guess the representative lead path for Amazing Grace and the representative lead for Frere Jacques. So the idea is that there's something for everyone.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you both very much.
My pleasure.
Right now we're gonna do 2 things. First, we're going to watch a video. We mentioned the Boxsmith pack or packs. We're gonna take a look behind the scenes at the creation of the first of the Boxsmith packs. And while that's going on, Jurassic in the chat is going to give away 5 copies of this week's song pack on Steam. So make sure you look for his instructions while watching the video, and then we'll be back with more music.
We've been kicking around the idea of doing a classical music DLC for a while. I think even back in Rocksmith 1, but there was never the right time or the format or just a plan in place. We tempo mapped a Bach invention about 2 years ago, and there was never an appropriate time. We just kind of got going with Rocksmith 2014, but the idea stuck around and people kept wanting to do it. This is the first time we've really owned the entire process, and it's very exciting. I'm really juiced about the rehearsal. We've been spending so long honing the arrangements and getting the parts and the scores ready and communicating with the performers, and the magic of putting it all together hasn't happened, and we have an idea of what it's going to sound like, but it's all been kind of MIDI up to this point, and to hear the humans and the real guitars and the magic of the moment happen, I'm excited.
Through it at a slower tempo.
We're bringing back some of the guys who really stood out and helped us develop Rocksmith 2014. One of the guys was knee-deep in session mode, and 2 of them are actually former note trackers, one for DLC and one helped us actually with Rocksmith 2014 disc. brought these guys back because they are tremendously talented, and we wanted the opportunity to work with them again.
Awesome. Let's start at J. Take like an ear break for just a second before we back up.
There is a lot of talent on the Rocksmith team. We got the note trackers to arrange it. I gave them free rein. I tried to cater each chart to like a certain arranger's style that I knew they would be successful in.
I feel like for both crescendos and the day crescendos, crescendo died away immediately and then just sat, as opposed to a constant thing. And then for the crescendo, it was like, oh, we're going to crescendo now, and we're going to stay here, and then we're going to just move like that. Okay. Try to reserve it, make it a little bit more of a linear growth. Okay. Yeah. Let's just start.
And then after a day of working on arrangements, I checked in with them and saw the direction it was going, and if it was too far one way, I'd steer it, or I'd say, oh, that's great, we'll just keep going.
This has got to be on the back side of the beat for sure. Don't push it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Part of being a great musician is knowing lots of different types of music and being able to play in lots of different styles. And hopefully we've covered a lot of different ground with this DLC pack stylistically.
On that triplet thing, can you actually not make the triplets short? I think it'll be easier to play them as triplets if they're long. Boom.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Keep this at piano.
Okay.
I'd say keep the whole thing at
Keep
piano.
the whole thing at piano? Alright.
Way better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way better. That whole thing just needs to stay piano.
Classical music and rock music are seemingly disparate things, but hopefully through the arrangements and through the note tracks, you'll gain a lot of new skills.
3 E and a 4 E and a. I like all that stuff. Ah. Sorry, do that again. Just those 3 measures.
Anything you can do to challenge yourself and play outside of your comfort zone can only improve your dexterity and your fretboard knowledge in a way that will manifest and improve your overall skill set.
Yeah, and really hang on to the last one. Bum, 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 bum. Let's try that.
That seems like 100 times better.
Are you guys into that? Do you like that direction of it?
Yeah, I like, yeah.
I may have. There we go. Welcome back to the Rocksmith developer stream. Today we are looking at the Classic Melody Song Pack that just released this past Tuesday. I am and remain Doug. I am your host here for the stream and your community developer for Rocksmith. Today, the song pack that we're looking at is 3 traditional songs that we've rearranged, we've reinterpreted as something completely new. And we mentioned earlier Boxsmith. Speaking of Boxsmith, welcome. That's a weird transition. You're not Boxsmith.
But my name is Boxsmith.
Hello, Boxsmith. Jason Kokel.
Yes.
Welcome back. It's
Thank
been a little
you.
while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Missed you. Missed
Yeah.
having you here.
I'm just down in my hidey hole.
Cool. And Greg Studley, we see you all the time, but it's always nice to have you back.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, good.
I don't have a hidey hole yet. I'm building one.
Oh, good.
It's in the process.
Please,
yeah, you know.
Please do. Is there like a not coding? I lost it. Don't worry about that.
It takes about 7 years to build.
Okay.
That's how long I've been here.
So you got some time. Speaking of Boxsmith, there we go. You're playing Ride of the Valkyries.
Yes.
Yes, which you have done some work with before.
Yeah, I did the arrangement for this. I wrote the arrangement and note tracked it, and then we had the wonderful session musicians play it for us.
Cool. So did you play on the recording or the session?
No.
players?
So at that time, this was the first Boxsmith pack, and so how we did it then was. It was all session musicians. So Spencer Selman, who was a former note tracker and also audio composer when Rocksmith 2014 was being made, he played lead, and Sam Schwartz played rhythm on this song, and Kevin Cameron, also a former note tracker, played bass, and Geneva Harrison played drums, and she destroyed the drum part on this song. Like it went beyond. Like I had what I had in mind. And she did that plus more. It's incredible.
Perfect.
Incredible.
Maybe you'll have in the video that we just saw. Somebody asked why she had cloth or maybe a shirt over the snare.
I don't know. Maybe maybe
if we had a percussionist here.
Yeah. I mean, well, it does deaden the sound, and I don't know which song it was used for, but not this one. That snares.
But it's basically to reduce those high frequencies.
Probably, yeah, to kind of muffle it a little bit. I bet. Yeah, there was.
It's like a palm mute for a drum.
Yeah, or a high pass filter.
Okay.
or low pass, depending on which permits what.
So you wrote and arranged you arranged a pretty shreddy tune.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. This is, let's take a look at it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what all is going on here.
Certainly. Yeah.
So this is Ride of the Valkyries from Boxsmith song pack. Yeah. I was going to play bass on that, but
you didn't.
But I didn't. And,
you're welcome.
So Greg Sully took rhythm because I did want some rhythm in this week's stream.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only reason.
Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, because all of the songs that we've arranged, I think every part is a lot more distinct than what you might find. Because a lot of times rhythm parts or lead parts will double rhythm.
Yes.
Not all the time, but it's not uncommon. And I think these are all intentionally distinct.
Yeah,
parts.
yeah. And I mean, how this was done, and I think how all of them were done at the time was we had the full score that we were working from. I had Wagner's original score, and I'm like, okay, what of everything can I capture, or what's the most important things that at least we can do with a lead, rhythm, and bass. Mm-hmm. And so that's why at any point in the song, aside from the part where the melody stops and I'm playing along with rhythm, most of the song there's 3 individual distinct parts, especially when it gets into the sort of like, they're not really atmospheric sections, but they're kind of like with a lot of the augmented chords and stuff like that. It's like there's some nice interplay between all the instruments that kind of make that happen.
It seemed like you had some like flip beats occasionally.
Yeah, so right, because normally the song's in 9/8. Or the original piece is in 9/8, and so there's a part where it converts to 4/4.
Yeah,
because the duration of the eighth stay the same. So instead of and you can rock out. Right. That's the only reason I did it. And then there's a part where it is later on when it comes back and it's in 9/8 where it sounds like it's double or triple time, I guess, in that case. But it's
but the duration of each quarter note stays.
Yeah, consistent. And how it looks on the note way is exactly the same. It's just all of a sudden the drums just change. It changes the whole approach. And in some ways it makes it harder, especially if you're not used to that kind of drumming where you might be like, well, where is the one? You just got to know.
I love it. And Jonathan Ray wanted to know if you were actually playing counterpoint with yourself, playing counterpoint to yourself.
No. Or is that just there is a part where it's both the guitars are doing. So not definitely not with my not. That was not
on your. Okay.
Yeah, each of those single note lines they just kind of come, but it does sound that way.
So let's not diminish Greg's contribution.
We don't want to augment it either.
That's
exactly.
True.
You're welcome.
Got your lane. All right, cool. Thank you both very much. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention about the sort of creation of this piece?
Well, just that like anytime we've gotten to do this, because we did both Boxsmith 1 and 2, I did an arrangement on each one. And
what did you arrange on 2?
Galop Infernal, the French can, which is also just it sounds like it, but
like you can tell what it is, but
I mean it does a lot of genre jumping, like how Mr. Bungle or Naked City might have played it, and at the time I remember that Jon Stewart was leaving the Daily Show, so I even made one segment that sounds kind of like the Daily Show, and it just happened to be it was a product of its time, man.
Little time capsule DLC.
But I mean the approach for me anytime like I always like to take it and be like, okay, well I could just play the parts, I could just play each, but I'm like I kind of like to turn it on its head, and so with this I was like, oh, I mean the song is the original piece is so bombastic that I decided I wanted to make the song be like. New wave, British heavy metal, just real driving that just seemed to fit. I don't think anything else to me would have fit as, if you're playing a rock version of this song.
Right.
But,
right.
So
cool. Thank you both very much
You're
for playing.
welcome.
And Greg, thanks for coming on kind of last minute for
this.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah, we're good.
I'll let you know next time I don't want to play bass.
All right. Moving on. We're going to take a look at some things in case you missed it. We just mentioned the Boxsmith 2 song pack. That song pack included Funeral March. Originally, these are all songs that we arranged and when I say we, I don't mean me. I mean the note trackers, the people who are good at that sort of thing. They arranged these songs to express more contemporary genres of music, but with melodies that you'll be familiar with, much like this classic melody song pack. So in Boxsmith 2 was the Funeral March, originally composed by Frédéric Chopin, the Can-Can, which Jason Coco just mentioned, by Jacques Offenbach, Ode to Joy by Beethoven, the Nutcracker Medley, which is a collection from Piotr Tchaikovsky, Symphony No. 40 by Mozart, and additionally, we had the Rocksmith Goes to the Movies song pack, which are yet more melodies that you will likely be familiar with. Those include songs from Back to the Future, Batman, I believe, that is the Michael Keaton era Batman, Jurassic Park, that goes to you, Brian Turner, a.k.a. UB Jurassic, and Superman, and A Knife in the Dark, which I believe is Halloween. No, Lord of the Rings. I don't know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, I have people here to correct me almost instantaneously. It's good. It's good. I don't need to know things when I surround myself with people who do know things. And while we're talking about it, in the original Boxsmith song pack, in addition to Ride of the Valkyries, we had Rondo alla Turca, Moonlight Sonata, Little Fugue in G minor, and In the Hall of the Mountain King. So make sure to check those out. I probably mispronounced some people or things in that. Maybe not. No, I'm all right. I did it all right. Hey, I'm back on camera. Hello, welcome back. To play our final song, we have our last two guests for the day. Hello, Francois Luong. How are you doing?
Hello, Doug Lilly.
Doing fine. Could you please move your microphone up a little bit? Again, I'm always one to talk, but I gotta do it. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a few weeks since we've seen you here.
It has, yes.
Yeah, unless you were here last week and I just didn't know it.
No.
Because hosting in my stead last week while I was relaxing was
That
Dan
was
Amrick.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
Oh, no.
I just wanted to prove that I can also speak softly on a microphone.
Does that mean I have to prove that I can speak loudly?
No, it's just that everybody else has to put the mic towards their mouth. I'm the one that you're like, could you back the hell off? Yeah. Yeah. I really had fun doing the show again last week. I'm glad you got a week off as well. But thanks for letting me sub in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
And I see you didn't quite get enough. Here you are again.
Yeah.
To play some.
Well, it's because you didn't want to play bass on this one either.
No,
I
didn't
think.
say that. No. Look, I'm here primarily to support the people to my left or right if you're watching it. Yeah.
Well, I had the opportunity to play a Greg Barr joint, and of course, I have spoken of Greg in the past as Dead Greg. Because for no reason other than I thought it was kind of funny, Greg Barr simply he left the team to pursue other interests. It was a very amicable parting.
Yeah.
We still talk to him very often, but I was just sort of like, goodbye, Greg. And it just became a thing that like, oh yeah, no, Greg died. Greg was assumed into heaven.
Gotcha.
But yes, this was the one out of that pack that he arranged and recorded and has a nice little swing to it.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun. I was really happy to see these songs because these are the cliches of learning how to play guitar in a one-on-one lesson or in a group lesson when you're in school because well, they're public domain and everybody knows them and nobody is really inspired. Nobody picks up a guitar and goes, I cannot wait to learn Frere Jacques, But the Rocksmith team said, well, what if we made it something that actually was more interesting so that still had that level of I'm just starting and I do need that comfort zone, but then for more advanced, intermediate or advanced players, you have these kind of note tracks. So I think these are pretty fun.
Can we expect perhaps a doom metal version of Maria Had the Little Lamb for the next
that would
pack?
be wonderful. Although I would prefer the Stevie Ray Vaughan version. If we ever get an alternate version of Mary Had a Little Lamb, I would like that.
Just get two wheels. One has the songs, one has genres.
Right, and we'll just we'll mix them up, and then that's how we pick things here anyway.
All right, well let's go ahead and take a look at When the Saints Go Marching In. And full disclosure, you were playing.
I'm playing the lead path at 80% because this path is way above my skill level.
Okay, all right.
Not what people might expect from When the Saints Go Marching In. Oh.
All right.
I remembered that being easier when I practiced it at my
Oh,
desk.
yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of goofed up an awful lot on that one, and I feel bad.
Oh, I think
And
it's
I feel
because of the speed of the line of horizon is slower.
You think that's what it is? I think it's just because I'm stinky. But that's kind of you to blame it on the game.
The monitor is higher and further away than what you're accustomed to.
Yeah.
So the notes take longer.
Well, also the multiplayer split screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of like everything is half the size.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
twice
Thanks,
as fast.
man. I appreciate. See,
we'll get
musicians support each other.
Yes. That's great.
English majors too.
So John 308 did have some trivia about something that you mentioned. Apparently, according to John 308,
Greg Barr's not dead.
Not confirmed. SRV based his version of
Buddy
Greyhound
Guy.
Delay. You got it.
Yep.
You got it.
Yep.
Which reminds me of the conversation that we've had about covers of covers.
Yes.
Which I don't really have anything to say, but it's an
But
interesting
thanks
concept.
for bringing it up.
So just like the idea of like, when you do a cover of a song, you want to make sure you get the meat of that song.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do a cover of a specific version of that song, like a cover of a cover, you then have to extract what makes it unique to the first band that covered it.
Yeah, you need to represent both the original work and your inspiration work, and
while adding your own element.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting.
Never mind. Don't do it. Just write original music and never do covers of covers.
I love it. No. So yeah, nice kind of country twist.
Yeah, a little bit of Carl Perkins kind of pokes out at me. Sort of that classic 50s country rock where Elvis was bringing sort of, and Carl Perkins brought some of the sort of the country influence into rock, and it took off from there. But yes, definitely some twang.
Oh yeah,
and satisfying twang
at
that
for sure. And have we seen this?
Yes, but not with you.
Not with me. Oh, okay.
Yes, the last time he was here, Dan was still hosting.
Oh, okay.
The show.
Gotcha.
The ancient days.
It's been a while. It's like a Stratocaster.
So it's a 2016 Fender Standard Stratocaster with humbucker and single.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that is yours.
It is mine.
Correct. And
he specifically said, "Are you going to be playing the blue bass? Because I'm bringing a blue guitar with a blue strap."
Sweet.
So we
glad
decided.
you brought that up.
I don't know if people noticed, but Pody and Travis also matched with their cream-colored instruments at the beginning of the show. So
like
it's
that.
you know,
was that intentional or was that an accident?
That was intentional.
Are you sure?
No.
It's something that I forgot to mention. Speaking of your blue bass,
Mm-hmm.
Amazing Grace, going back a couple songs, the lyrics were originally written by John Newton. But
for Amazing Grace?
Yeah.
The John Newton?
Not the John Newton.
Oh, a different John Newton.
A different John Newton.
Okay.
From
Old John Newton.
Back in 1779. Yeah.
Wow,
so
okay.
Yeah, the John Newton.
Because I've met the John Newton in person. He's not
quite
that old. He's getting up there.
I don't think he's in chat today, so we're just talking about.
Okay, great. This bass once belonged to Rocksmith community member, the John Newton, and we swapped some gear. Because he said, I don't really need this bass. Would you like to give it a home? I'm like, you know that I love that finish. He goes, that's why I asked you. Yeah. And cool. It's got a proud lineage.
Yeah. So thank you both for joining us once again. And we are going to give away our second of 2 Ernie Ball prize packs. And then we'll have a few logistical, #raffle, a few logistical things to take care of after that. But right now, please enter for your chance to win the second of 2 Ernie Ball prize packs. Make sure you listen to what UB Jurassic says in chat. That is Brian Turner. He is the Rocksmith community manager based in North Carolina, as opposed to us, who we're here in San Francisco. People say sunny San Francisco. It's been sunny, but it's raining the past couple days. It's fine. I like it. It's nice and cool. So yeah, make sure you listen to what Brian has to say about entering to win this raffle, which, if you win, will include 2 sets of strings, 1 6-string set for your guitar, 1 4-string set for your bass, a dozen Ernie Ball picks, 3 picks from us, an Ernie Ball strap, and a package of Ernie Ball Wonder Wipes, as well as an Ernie Ball peg winder. So good luck, and if you win, make sure you get Brian your full name, your shipping address, and your telephone number, shipping address. Make sure you split that up line by line so that we get the format right and get it to you and not have it sent back to us. Also, speaking of giving things away, we are in the last week of the Bohemian Rhapsody sweepstakes. So if you haven't yet, make sure you go to rocksmith.com/brsweeps and register so that you can play Queen songs in Rocksmith and get a chance to win one of these prizes. The grand prize is going to be the C200 turntable there that is Bohemian Rhapsody themed, along with a copy of the Blu-ray and DVD digital Bohemian Rhapsody film. And there are Squirrely Ninja in chat can correct me, 5 or 6 runner-up prize packs, which would include the film, a T-shirt, a hat, and the backpack. All that information can be found when you register at rocksmith.com/brsweeps. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have a clue on our forums for what's coming in the future. So if you arrive, probably maybe 10 or before, I'm not sure if it's UB Jurassic doing the clue tomorrow or if it's UB Syraxia. If it's UB Syraxia, that's usually a bit earlier in the day, but UB Jurassic usually gets that clue in at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is like 1 p.m. here. No, I can't do math. Yeah. No, it's earlier. I went the wrong way. It's like 7 a.m. here on the Pacific Coast. So if you want to see what's coming next week, make sure you hit up the forums. Just go to rocksmith.com and click the little forum link at the top of your screen, and that will take you to the forums. You can help the community solve the puzzle that will reveal one song on next week's song pack. Also, while you're there, I believe I should have, there we go. While you're on the internet, you're probably on the internet now, make sure you hit up our social media platforms. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We engage with you there. We talk to you there, as well as our forums. We also have some people that check out the Rocksmith Reddit. So we're around if you want to talk to us. So please reach out. And that's what we've got tomorrow. We will not have an encore stream this month. The studio is closed for Memorial Day this Monday, so no encore this month. But next month, we do have something pretty exciting planned, so stay tuned for more information on that, and we will see you next week. Thank you. We're going to take a look at the Classic Melody Song Pack one more time, and we'll see you next week.